Chosen one, there is something inside you that has never existed before, not in this configuration, not in this combination, not in the entire span of recorded human history. I want to use a word that might surprise you. Not a gift, though it is that. Not a calling, though it contains that. A weapon. Something with a specific target, a specific direction, a force that has been building through every hard season, every closed door, every moment you survived, something that was designed to bury it. Notice what happens in your body when you hear that word. A shift maybe, a recognition, something in you that says yes. That is the word. The people who changed the direction of history were not the most qualified. They were the most precisely configured. Joseph saw into what others could not see. Moses carried an authority he did not fully understand until it was needed. David moved with an instinct that no military training had ever produced. Each of them carried a weapon shaped for their moment, and none of them fully understood what they carried until the moment it was required. Chosen one, there is a neuroscientific reason that weapon inside you has felt dormant. There is a historical reason it has never existed in exactly this form before. And there is a specific reason it is beginning to stir right now. Today, I want to show you all three. And before we go deeper, I want to tell you something important. If you stay with me until the end of this, you will leave with three things most people spend years searching for and never find. You will know the name of what you carry. You will understand exactly why it has felt blocked and the science behind it, and you will know how to begin raising it today, not someday. Stay with me. This is worth it. Now, let us start with the thing most people get wrong. You have been told, in 100 different ways, that you have a gift. People said it kindly. Teachers, family, maybe someone who saw something in you and wanted to name it, and they meant well. But here is what I want you to sit with for a moment. A gift is something you unwrap. A gift is something you receive, hold carefully, and place on a shelf where you can look at it. A weapon is something different. A weapon has direction. A weapon has force. A weapon does not wait to be appreciated, it waits to be raised. And the chosen ones who are standing at the threshold right now, the ones who have outgrown the spaces they were placed in, who have felt restless in rooms that should have been enough, who have known for years that there is something larger in them that they cannot fully name. They are not carrying gifts anymore. They are carrying weapons they have never been shown how to use. Think about David. Not the king, not the legend, the shepherd, the youngest one, the one left out in the field while his brothers stood in line for selection, the one nobody thought to call in when the prophet arrived. He was not carrying a soft gift. He was carrying something so specific, so precisely assembled for the moment that was coming, that no one around him could see it, including himself. But it was there. It had been there the whole time. And when the moment arrived, standing in front of Goliath while trained soldiers stood back in fear, David did not reach for something new. He reached for what had already been formed in him through years of invisible preparation in the wilderness. He raised what had always been there. That is what today is about. Not building something new, recognizing what has already been assembled. Now, let me tell you what a weapon actually consists of, because I do not want to leave this as a feeling. I want to give you something precise. Every weapon has three components. The first is force, raw capacity, the sheer depth of what you carry. The second is direction, the assignment, the target, the specific place in the world where this thing is meant to land. And the third is activation, the trigger that releases it. Most chosen ones have the force. They have always had it. What they are missing is the language for the direction and the key to the activation. And that is exactly what we are going to work through today. Here is the part that tends to stop people in their tracks. You have had moments, and I want you to go back to them right now, in your memory moments, when something in you just knew. You saw the outcome before the evidence arrived. You felt the shift before anyone announced it. You walked into a room and understood the invisible dynamics inside it before a single word was spoken. You said something to someone that you did not plan to say, and it landed in them like it had been waiting for that exact moment their whole life. Those were not accidents. Those were the weapon firing. Brief, uncontrolled, momentary, but real. And if you are honest with yourself, you have known, since the first time it happened, that there was something in you that operated on a different frequency than the people around you. The question is, why does it feel like those moments are flashes rather than a steady fire? Why does the weapon feel like it activates without warning and then goes quiet again for weeks? That is the second thing I want to show you today. And it is the one that changed everything for me when I first understood it. Because here is what happened. Something was installed in you at birth that has been progressively turned down. Not taken away, not destroyed, turned down. Like a radio that has been dialed from full signal to static, not because the station stopped broadcasting, but because something in the environment created interference. Neuroscientists call this the decline effect. In early childhood, roughly from birth to age 7, the human brain operates at peak gamma wave activity. Gamma is not a metaphor. It is a measurable, documented brainwave frequency that researchers at MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, and Columbia have been studying for decades. And what those studies consistently show is this. Gamma is the frequency of insight, of pattern recognition, of deep intuition, of what athletes and artists call flow state, the moment when everything clicks and operates at a level beyond normal effort. Children at age 4 have gamma firing at full capacity. They learn at extraordinary rates. They see connections between things that adults miss. They create freely, trust their instincts completely, and navigate the world with a kind of clarity that most adults can only remember in fragments. And then it starts to dim. Not because of anything they did, not because of any spiritual failure, but because the structure of modern education, the sit still, be quiet, memorize the answer, do not trust what you feel system, is not designed for gamma. It is designed for something slower, more compliant, more manageable, and it systematically trains the brain out of the state it was born into. Dr. Robert Lake, a neuroscientist with 34 years of research specifically in this area, documented what he calls the architecture of this suppression. He found that by the time most people reach adulthood, their gamma activity has been reduced to a fraction of what it was at birth, and the capacities that gamma supports, the intuition, the pattern recognition, the deep knowing, the flow state, do not disappear. They go dormant. The weapon does not leave. The frequency is jammed. And here is the part that I have to be direct about, because it matters. There are institutions and industries that benefit from a population operating at reduced gamma capacity. A person in full gamma is harder to manipulate, harder to distract, harder to keep in a loop of consumption and compliance. Dr. Lake's research was not suppressed maliciously by any single entity, but it was not distributed the way it should have been. The people who needed it most, the ones walking around carrying weapons they could no longer feel, were not told. You were not told. And what I want to say to you right now is this. The moments of breakthrough you have experienced, the flashes of knowing, the times the weapon fired, those were moments when something in your life, a period of solitude, a season of stripping away, a crisis that forced you to go deeper than your surface mind, temporarily cleared the interference and let the gamma through. Those were not random spiritual experiences. They were your brain, briefly, returning to the frequency it was born at. Now, I want to tell you about something, and I want to be careful about how I say this, because I do not want to overstate it, and I do not want to understate it. When Dr. Lake understood the mechanism of gamma suppression, that the frequency was not gone, only blocked, he spent years developing a way to work with it directly, not to force anything, not to manufacture something artificial, but to use sound frequency in a specific, precisely engineered way to guide the brain back toward the gamma state it was born into. The same way a tuning fork creates resonance with the string it is tuned to, this audio technology creates resonance with the brain's own natural frequency. The result is a 7-minute audio track called The Genius Song. You listen through headphones. You sit still. You do not need to meditate. You do not need a mantra. You do not need to wake up at 4 in the morning or maintain a practice for 3 months before you feel anything. The entrainment, the process of the brain following the frequency, begins with the first listen. To experience gamma activation through traditional biofeedback therapy would cost you $300 per session. The home equipment for that kind of work runs approximately $7,000. Dr. Lake developed this so that neither of those price points was the barrier anymore. The standard price for the track is $49, but for those watching this specific message, not through any other source, not on Amazon, not on any streaming platform, the price, through the link I have placed in the description and the pinned comment, is $39. With that comes 4 additional resources at no extra cost. A second audio track designed to support gamma activation in children. A copy of the original book that inspired the film, The Secret, the financial principles version that is more substantive than what most people have seen, currently $20 on Amazon, included here free. A guided visualization walking through 4 areas of life: money, love, health, and purpose, and an infographic outlining the 5 most important patterns for building toward the life you are moving into. The entire package comes with a full money-back guarantee. No limit on how many times you use it before requesting a refund. No questions. I want to be honest with you about one more thing. This is a tool, not a shortcut. The formation you have been through, the stripping, the wilderness, the seasons that felt like punishment, that is the foundation of the weapon. This does not replace that work. It supports the neurological side of what you are already doing. It removes interference so what is already in you can operate the way it was built to. One more thing before you decide if this is for you. There are imitation versions of this appearing online, using the name, but not containing the actual entrainment technology. They are audio files with no engineered frequency, no mechanism, no effect. The only source with the full technology, the 4 bonuses, and the money-back guarantee is the link in the description and the pinned comment of this message. Please do not search for it anywhere else. If you feel called to explore this, the link is there for you. And now, let me show you what becomes possible when the weapon is no longer jammed. Because everything I have shown you so far, the name of the weapon, the reason it went quiet, is only the beginning of what I want you to understand today. We have not yet talked about the scale of what you carry. We have not yet talked about why this specific weapon, in this specific configuration, has never existed in the entire span of human history before you. That is what chosen ones consistently tell me changes something permanently in them. Not just knowing the weapon exists, but understanding the scope of why it was assembled the way it was assembled, in this era, in this body, in this life. Stay with me. Chosen one. I want to come back to something I said at the very beginning. No one in human history has had exactly what you carry. I know that is a large statement. I know some part of you is still holding it at arm's length, turning it over, looking for the catch. And I think that is worth honoring, because skepticism is not the enemy of truth. It is often the guardian of it. So let me earn that statement. Let me show you why it is not hype, not flattery, not the kind of well-meaning encouragement that fades by morning. Let me show you the architecture of it. Think about Joseph in the Egyptian prison. He was not the most educated man in the room. He had no credentials, no title, no political capital. But he carried a weapon that no one around him possessed the ability to see the structure beneath events. Not to predict the future as a magic trick, but to look at a dream, a pattern, a sequence of circumstances, and perceive the invisible architecture underneath it with a clarity that stopped powerful men cold. That weapon placed him at the right hand of the most powerful ruler in the known world. But here is the thing. Joseph's weapon was shaped for Joseph's moment. It was calibrated for the specific crisis of his era, the specific people he was surrounded by, the specific gap in the world that his assignment was designed to fill, and it had never existed before. Not in that configuration. Moses carried a weapon of authority, an ability to hold ground under impossible pressure, to keep moving forward when every visible sign said it was over, to speak to power with a steadiness that his own people did not always understand. That weapon was shaped for Moses' moment. The specific exodus, the specific generation, the specific 40 years of wilderness that formed in him what could not have been formed anywhere else, and it had never existed before. Not in that configuration. This is the pattern. Every person who moved the needle of history carried a weapon shaped precisely for the gap they were born to fill. Not a general spiritual enhancement. Not a vague empowerment. A precise, non-repeatable assembly of capacity, formation, and timing. And here is what I want you to see. You are that pattern. Right now. In this moment. There are 5 expressions of the weapon that I see most consistently in chosen ones, who are standing at the threshold you are standing at right now. And I want to name them, not so you can pick the one that sounds the best, but so you can recognize what has already been operating in you. The first is the seer, the one who perceives what others cannot. Not just spiritual sight, though it includes that, but the capacity to read rooms, patterns, relationships, and situations at a depth that most people are not wired for. If you have ever known something before the evidence confirmed it, if you have ever looked at a situation and seen the thing underneath the thing, you carry this. The second is the pioneer, the one who goes first into territory others have not entered, not because of reckless courage, but because the seer in them has already mapped what is ahead. If you have consistently found yourself in conversations, places, and ideas that are slightly ahead of the people around you, not superior, just ahead, you carry this. The third is the voice, the one who speaks what others feel but cannot articulate. If words have ever come out of you that you did not plan, and someone looked at you and said, "That is exactly it. That is the thing I have been trying to say for years," you carry this. The voice is not about volume, it is about frequency. Words with something embedded in them that lands differently than ordinary speech. The fourth is the light bearer. This one is subtle. The light bearer affects a space simply by being present. Before a single word is spoken, something in the room shifts. People who have never met you before find themselves telling you things they have not told anyone. You leave conversations, and people say they feel lighter. This is not personality. This is the weapon operating at a field level. The fifth is the spiritual warrior, the one who holds ground when everything around them is collapsing. Not aggressive, not combative, but unable to be broken by the pressures that break most people. If you have survived things that by all accounts should have taken you out, and come out of them not just intact but somehow more formed, more solid, more clear, you carry this. Most chosen ones carry 2 or 3 of these simultaneously. Some carry all 5. And here is what makes your specific configuration unprecedented. This era right now, this moment in human history, needs all 5 of these at once, not one per generation. All 5 working together in people who have been formed through the specific kinds of pressure that the last decade has produced. The world is fragmented in a way it has not been fragmented before. Information is everywhere, and wisdom is scarce. Spiritual hunger is at a historic high, while institutional trust is at a historic low. People are searching for someone who has actually seen what is real, not someone with a platform, not someone with followers, but someone whose words carry weight because they have been formed in the fire. That is the gap you were assembled to fill. Not a general gap, not a vague calling. A precise, historically specific gap that did not exist in Joseph's time, in Moses' time, in David's time. It exists now, in this decade. And the weapon you carry, the specific combination of seer and pioneer and voice and light-bearer and warrior, was built for this gap. That is why no one in history has had exactly this. Not because you are greater than those who came before you, but because you are not them. You are you, at this time, with this formation, in this moment. And that combination will never exist again. Now I have to tell you something that might be the most important thing in everything I have said today. Most chosen ones who hear this, who feel the truth of it somewhere deeper than logic, will not raise the weapon. Not because they lack the capacity, not because the weapon is not real, but because of a belief so deeply installed that it operates below the level of conscious thought, a belief that says, I am not deserving of this, not me, someone else maybe, someone more prepared, more spiritual, more healed, more worthy, but not me. I want to speak directly to that belief right now, not to dismiss it, but to show you exactly where it came from. You were placed in rooms too small for what you carry. Since childhood, since early adulthood, since the first time the weapon fired, and the people around you looked at you like you were strange, or too much, or slightly difficult to manage. And because you are someone who pays attention, someone who reads the room, someone whose seer capacity was operating, even then you registered that response. And somewhere in your nervous system, you made a quiet agreement. The size of what is in me is a problem. I will make myself smaller so the people around me feel comfortable. You did not choose unworthiness. It was the most rational response available to you at the time. But it is not truth, and it has been costing the world what you carry. Here is the thing about a diamond. It does not question whether it deserved the pressure. The pressure was not a punishment, it was the mechanism. The exact force required to produce the exact result. Coal becomes a diamond, not despite the compression, but because of it. And the years you spent in the wilderness, in the waiting, in the seasons that felt like you were being buried, they were not wasted. They were the pressure, they were the formation. You were not falling behind, you were being made. The low ceiling is not yours. It was placed on you by spaces too small to hold you. And today, right now, I am asking you to set it down, not because you feel ready, not because all the unworthiness has dissolved, but because the weight of that ceiling is costing the world what you were built to carry, and you have held it long enough. This is the convergence I want you to see. We have walked through 3 things today. The weapon has a name, purpose, with direction and force. The weapon was suppressed through both the formation of the wilderness and the neurological interference of the decline effect. And the weapon has a scope. It is not for personal comfort. It is generational. It is historically specific. And it is needed right now. Here is how all 3 of those connect into one truth. The reason no one has ever had exactly what you carry is not that you are superior to Joseph or Moses or David. It is that you are not them. You are the convergence of this specific formation, the particular wilderness you walked through, this specific frequency, the gamma configuration that has been dormant and is now beginning to return, and this, a specific moment in history, the gap that exists right now, in this decade, that was not present before. Take away any one of those 3, and the weapon is different. Take away the formation, and it lacks the depth. Take away the frequency, and it lacks the power. Take away the timing, and the gap it was built for does not exist. All 3 came together in you. That is the weapon, not any one piece of it. The convergence. And I want you to sit with that for a moment. Not rush past it. Not immediately translate it into something to do. Just receive it. You are a seer. You are a pioneer. You are a voice. You are a light bearer. You are a spiritual warrior, not in waiting, not someday, not once you are ready, or healed, or more prepared. Now, these are not titles you are reaching for. They are descriptions of what you already are. The weapon is real, the convergence is real. The unprecedented nature of what you carry is real, and the only question that remains is whether you will raise it. Here is how you begin. Not as a performance, not as a discipline to force, but as a posture to inhabit. The weapon speaks in clarity, not in anxiety. You know the difference, you have felt both. When the weapon is active, there is a low, clean signal underneath the noise, a knowing without urgency, a direction without desperation. When you feel that signal, follow it. Not every loud feeling is the weapon, but that quiet, clear current underneath that is it. Learn to distinguish it. Trust it more than you trust the noise. Every morning, before you step into the demands of the day, take 30 seconds and speak who you are, not to convince yourself. Not as an affirmation you do not believe, but as an activation. Remind the weapon of its direction. Say it simply. I am a seer. I carry the voice. I hold ground. I bring light into what is dark. Not as performance, as orientation. And before you enter a significant conversation, a room where something matters, a decision that has weight, take one breath and set your intention. Not, I hope this goes well, but I know what I carry. I am bringing it into this space. Something specific is waiting here for what I have. That is not arrogance. That is alignment. And there is an enormous difference. The weapon was not given to be admired. It was given to be used. And using it begins with the simple, daily act of living from the truth of what you carry, rather than reaching toward it like it is still somewhere ahead of you. It has always been in you. Now, let us close this the way I believe it deserves to be. Closed. Source, and I use that word to include everything you call the force that placed you here, whether that is God, the universe, the divine intelligence that runs through all things. I want to take a moment and acknowledge everything that was walked through to arrive at this point. Every season of hardship, every closed door that felt like rejection and turned out to be direction. Every moment of being too much for the room, every year of invisibility, every stretch of wilderness where the weapon felt completely silent and the path felt completely dark. None of it was wasted. Every bit of it was the formation. I am grateful for the pressure. I am grateful for the seasons that did not feel good and turned out to be the most important ones. I am grateful that the source did not give the weapon to someone who had not been formed to carry it. And now, I want to acknowledge this. The source sees every moment you held this without a name for it. Sees every time you walked into a space with the fullness of what you carry and stayed quiet because the room could not hold it. Sees the faithfulness in the ordinary days, the small moments of choosing depth over comfort, the years of formation that no one else witnessed. None of it was invisible. All of it was seen. And now I want to release some things. Release the low ceiling. It was never yours. Release the old story, the one that says you are behind, that others are ahead, that your time has passed or has not arrived. Release the unworthiness belief that kept the weapon holstered in rooms that called for it. Release the borrowed identity, the version of yourself you became so other people would feel comfortable. Release the need for permission to be the full size of what you are. Release the comparison that measured your insides against other people's outsides and found you lacking. Release the quiet agreement you made in childhood that the size of what is in you was a problem. Every one of those things served their purpose. They were part of the formation, but they are not what you carry forward. And now I want to call something forth. I call forth the full expression of the seer in you, the capacity to perceive what others cannot, to read the invisible architecture beneath the visible, to know without needing the evidence first. I call forth the pioneer, the one who has already seen what is ahead and can move into it before the crowd understands it is possible. I call forth the voice, the one whose words carry frequency, who speaks what others feel but cannot say, whose language lands in people like something they have been waiting for their whole lives. I call forth the light-bearer, the one whose presence shifts a space before a single word is spoken, the one who leaves people feeling seen and lighter for having been near them. I call forth the spiritual warrior, the one who cannot be broken by pressures that break others, who holds ground not through force but through the depth of what has been formed. I activate the weapon, not partially, not in waiting. Now, I call in the connections that are aligned with this assignment, the right people, the open doors, the conversations that need to happen, the spaces that are waiting for what you carry. I cover the rising from self-sabotage. I guard what has been built from being exposed before its time. What has been lifted, let nothing pull it back down. You are not ordinary. You were never ordinary. The weapon you carry has never existed before in exactly this form, and the world that is waiting for it has never needed it more than it does right now. I am a seer. I am a pioneer. I am a voice. I am a light-bearer. I am a spiritual warrior. I carry what this moment requires, and I am ready. It is done. It is sealed. The weapon is raised. And so it is. If something moved in you today, if you felt the truth of it somewhere beneath logic, I want you to type the word weapon in the comments right now. Let the others who carry this find each other here. Let this space become a confirmation for them, the way it became a confirmation for you. And if you know someone who has been walking around carrying something they cannot name, someone in a wilderness season, someone who has felt the weapon fire in brief flashes and never understood what it was, send this to them today, not as a random share, as an intentional act. Because what they need to hear might be sitting in everything we walked through together today. And if you feel called to support the neurological side of this, to remove the interference so the weapon can operate at the frequency it was built for, the link for the Genius song is in the description and the pinned comment. Go carry it well.